Good morning. I will be speaking on how to not study. But first of all, I feel that we should clarify on how to study. Now, the first technique is called the Pomodoro method. It uses a kitchen timer to break work into 25-minute intervals separated by short 5-minute breaks. The second technique is called the eat the frog technique, where you get the most difficult task of the day done first, or eating the metaphorical frog. The third technique is called setting goals, which helps you concentrate on carving out a streamlined path towards achieving exactly what you want by clarifying your objective. The fourth technique is called prioritizing, and this technique will help you This technique will help you, I'm sure, but I think we've had enough of that. Because all these are just fun and games for someone who's actually capable with both the drive and discipline to sit down and religiously follow these rituals on a day-to-day, today, 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 today basis. What I'm really here for is to share with you a small incident that happened just last week after school. So me and a close friend of mine were script writing for this very event, and we were discussing on how to balance our work alongside it. We talked and talked until we very conveniently reached the topic of what would be the best way to study and how to measure your productivity. Productivity being such an anxiety-inducing buzzword today that if you were to suppose get up right now, approach an IB student and ask them, do you think you've been productive enough these days? They would say no. And now you know how to guilt trip students today into studying harder. But coming back to the incident, I asked her what I assumed was a very simple and very straightforward question. How do you study? But right as I asked this question, did I realize that I might receive a not so simple and not so straightforward answer, as she replied, I don't know, man. It just happens. I couldn't tell what was worse, the fact that she didn't know or the fact that it just happened. So I broke it down further and I asked her, okay, what exactly are the tools that you use to get things done these days, be they physical or digital? And she said, all right, yeah, see, I just use Google Documents to type out the latest deadline for the report or essay last minute. And when she turned her laptop around to show me exactly what was on her screen, I felt two things. One, absolute shock and horror upon realizing that there were 31 search tabs open on her screen and concurrently running, occupying different portions of her screen. And two, absolute shock and horror upon realizing that I was doing the exact same thing. Now, why did she have 31 tabs open? Why did I have 31 tabs open? Well, it turns out that both of us have very limited attention spans. According to a Forbes article, Generation Z, or my generation, has the total attention span of a whopping 8 seconds. What does that mean? Well, for me, personally, it means that whatever work I'm doing, if it's not something that I'm immediately good at, or I find captivating enough to hold my groundbreaking 8 seconds of attention, it's done for and I move on to the next tab. Now, this poses an immense threat. Why? Because it's the exact same approach I take for when I study. So, while studying, I really can't focus on absolutely anything at all. And now, having a groundbreaking 8 seconds of attention, I realized to actually how to not study. So here are 3 things that have taught me and my groundbreaking 8 seconds of attention how to not study. Number 1, sitting down. I find that sitting down instantly signals break time for me, and why would you study during a break when you could indulge in a hobby? So I end up reading, writing, sculpting, and doing absolutely anything than touching the course book. So I make it a point to not sit down while studying, so I can hold laser focus on exactly what it is that I'm trying to learn. Number 2, reading the textbook front to back. Because that's not how it works. It's not a storybook. Reading the textbook front to back has been one of the hugest mistakes I've made in my life. I couldn't even recall the chapter titles of the book once I was done. Instead, now I make it a point to directly jump into the past papers. Now I know how to not only answer questions methodically, but exactly what to expect on the exam day. Number 3, writing down all my notes. I used to write down everything the teacher said. Whatever was on the board, whatever that came out of the teacher's mouth was on paper, verbatim. Because at the time, my thought process was, wow, I've written down everything. There's no way I wouldn't miss an answer point during the exam. Well, what's the point of having a mountain of handwritten notes when it just tires you to even look at them? The approach I take now instead is replaced by actually teaching the subject to my friends. I act like I'm the teacher. I'm going to class tomorrow, and I'm going to teach, for example, English. This way, not only am I able to effectively recall what I'm learning, but I'm also able to help my friends when they're in doubt. Well, 2 birds, 1 stone. These are the techniques that have helped me to how to not study. Because I don't know how to study, man. I really don't. But at the least, I know how to not study conventionally. And these things have helped me survive the trials and tribulations of academia up to this point. Thank you for listening and your time.